Welcome back to Gabbar-Alahah's book collection and review, where I, Gabbar-Alahah, gives you an inside look at my 200 plus book collection. In this video, we will be discussing books you should avoid and the reasons why. As many books as I have with the intention to get more, there are books that I refuse to have in my possession. In the King James Version Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9 through verse 12, it reads, "And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh." In 2010, Google counted all the published books in the world, adding up to 129,864,880. In 2022, the estimated average of books published each year is 1.7 million. Again, in the King James Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 12, it reads, "And further by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh." As a book collector and reader, I take a cautious approach to the types of literature that I acquire. The type of books I avoid are those that contradict the tenets of the Holy Bible. Here are some examples.
Spot, we have the Lesser Key of Solomon. This is a grimoire that is said to be cursed. It is said to contain spells that are used for summoning over 72 different demons, and just to add a little air of mystery, no one is exactly sure who wrote it. This is because the book is made up of a few different texts that have been compiled from somewhere around the 17th century. This book is said to be so cursed that even just having a copy of it will cause the owner to either experience constant bad luck or have the worst luck of all with passing away. People have shared their terrifying stories with the book, and they include the book's pages turning on their own, and another person shared that the book violently flew itself across the room at them. How terrifying would that be? While we aren't sure who wrote it, there are rumors or stories that suggest it might have been King Solomon. It is said that perhaps he wrote it for his son and then asked him to bury it with him in his grave. When being prepared for burial, a group of Babylonian philosophers found the book, and this is when they were visited by an angel who told them to hide the book from the unworthy. They then placed a spell on the book which was meant to keep it from getting into the wrong hands, and that is said to be how the book got its curse.
The Book of the Dead is not a book per se, but rather a corpus of ancient Egyptian funerary texts from the New Kingdom. Each book is unique, as it contains its own combination of spells. In total, about 200 spells are known, and these may be divided into several themes. In general, the spells are meant to aid the recently deceased in their journey through the underworld, which is perilous and full of obstacles. Many of the spells have their origin in the earlier pyramid texts and coffin texts, which shows the continuity as well as changes in the beliefs held by the ancient Egyptians regarding the afterlife. Although it is commonly called the Book of the Dead, its original name in ancient Egyptian is translated as RWNWPRTMHRW, which may be translated as Book of Coming Forth by Day or Book of Emerging Forth into the Light.
In the King James Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through verse 12, it reads, "There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee.
The Book of Mormon. What is it, and why do members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints care so much about it? Mormons, properly referred to as Latter-day Saints, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, read and revere the Bible as all Christians do. But they read and believe in an additional book called the Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ. For them, it's not a replacement for the Bible, it's not a substitute, it's a companion. Just as the Bible is Scripture, the Book of Mormon is also Scripture.
In the King James Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 2 reads, Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 32 reads, What things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. Proverbs chapter 30 verse 6 reads, Add thou not unto his words, lest he reprove thee, and thou be found a liar. Revelation chapter 22 verse 18 reads, For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. Here's a list of some other books that I think you guys should avoid. Back in Ecclesiastes 12 and 12, at the end of the verse, it stated that much study is a weariness of the flesh. In today's time, this will be known as information overload. Bertram Myron Gross, who was an American social scientist, federal bureaucrat, and professor of political science at Hunter College, had this to say about information overload. Information overload occurs when the amount of input into a system exceeds its processing capacity. Decision makers have fairly limited cognitive processing capacity. Consequently, when information overload occurs, it is likely that a reduction in decision quality will occur. There is a such thing as trying to learn too much. So in closing, I just want to say, if you're an Israelite like myself, try to avoid reading and collecting books that go against the Holy Bible, for that will contradict your moral compass. If you have a book that you would like to see featured or reviewed, please send me an email, which is located in the description box. With that being said, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I am Gabbar-Alahah, and Shalom.